Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Football continues. World Series happening very soon. And of course, hockey season. You can bet pregame, live and play, or one of our many prop bets, which Jesse is looking at right now. One of the many prop bets. Made for Canadians by Canadians. Sports Interaction is easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only. 19 plus. Please play responsibly.
She scores!
Take a moment to look up at the ceiling. You're about to bust through it.
SDPN and PWHPA present Hockey Like You've Never Heard It Before. The Knoxy and Kax Show with Liz Knox and Carol Emmard.
Let's get it. Go.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to Knoxy and Kax. We're excited to be welcoming our first guest of season 2 today, and this is hands down my favorite part of the show, getting to know our athletes on and off the ice. But before we get to Hanna Bunton, Kax, why don't you lead us off with this new tradition we have of starting with the news?
Absolutely. So news flash from everywhere. So right now, this weekend, Caroline Prevost from Team Summit will be is going to the Rogue Invitational in Austin, Texas. So if you want to stay updated, please follow her along on her Instagram or rogfitness.com or rogcanada.ca. So again, this weekend, Caroline Prevost will be competing at the Invitational Rogue Fitness. Is it Rogue or Rog?
Rogue. Yeah,
okay.
I think.
French.
Maybe
French
in French it's
here.
Rog. Yeah.
You got it. Next news.
Yeah, watch her lift heavy things and then put them down. Also this week, the rivalry series rosters were announced. So 7-game series opens November 15th in Kelowna, BC. 2 days later, game 2 is in Kamloops, BC. And then the U.S. hosts Canada on November 20th in Seattle, which is going to be so sick. We've got 20 PWHPA players on Canada and 16 on U.S. So it'll be so exciting to see that rivalry grow, as it always does every time those two teams touch the ice. And of course, you guys will have some teammates that will be keeping a close watch on.
We'll have to. Talking about rosters as well, too. Today, the rosters for Truro dropped for the PWHPA. So we just announced this morning, that who was going to be playing in Truro in Nova Scotia. Catch those on Twitters at PWHPA. Their handle will have everything, or you'll be able to see some posts on Instagram as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because each roster, each tour stop, it's going to be somewhat varied in the rosters depending on players can make it, can't make it, injuries or not. So we'll be looking forward to see those rosters take to the ice in Truro in 2 weeks. Less than that. 1 week. Oh my gosh.
Next week.
How is this time flying?
Hanna Bunton will be there.
Heck yeah, she will.
Let's flag her in.
And just before we get to meet Hanna a little bit, I did want to talk about our friend Amanda Provan at AMAPRO64. So Amanda was at our very first Dream Gap Tour stop in Toronto 4 years ago. And Bauer actually put up a nice poster, and it was hashtag share a dream. So guests, fans, young girls, players could come and kind of write their dreams down. So 4 years ago, Amanda wrote that she dreamed to be the first female player to make the Canadian national blind hockey team. And she achieved that dream, which is so cool. And then she went above it and became the first female to win gold. And so we just wanted to shout her out. I think that's such a cool story. I'm a big believer in writing your goals down, and to see her, do that in front of so many people and then achieve it is just absolutely goal crushing. We're so proud of her. So give her a follow, Amanda Provan. Love to see it.
Absolutely. I love this. I love this kind of news, Noxy. Well put.
We're all about happy news here.
Absolutely.
No bad days.
No, never.
So now to the exciting part, the more exciting part, we get to learn about our athletes. Today, we're so lucky to have Hanna Bunton on. Woo! At Bunts_9.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. You're in Montreal right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm at Bourget College, so I'm just outside in Rigaud, Quebec. So it's about 40 minutes outside of Montreal.
Right on. And representing Team Sonnet this year, which is weird. Like
it is weird. I was warming up the first day in Montreal, and I kept like in my peripherals seeing the bright blue. I'm like, oh, this is so weird. I'm always used to seeing red with Scotiabank, so it was weird to be in bright blue.
It's a good one. I love that jersey, honestly.
Oh.
Sonnet's got the best color, I'll say it. And I'm a big fan of the blue and the orange, but I really like the teal. I had to get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-popping.
So speaking of colors, schools, you've kind of been around women's hockey post-college, even during college. So why don't you take us back to where you started your college career at Cornell? Tell us a little bit about the campus. As Kax was saying earlier, like we've had a few Cornell people on now, or like we have friends. So tell us about your experience of the campus and the team.
Yeah, I think Cornell people are a little bit biased of the school and the campus, and they're pretty proud to be grads from there. So I was actually just there last weekend visiting. I hadn't been back in a little bit, and we had about 20 alumni that all made it down. But Cornell was such like a great place. The campus is absolutely beautiful. It's nice and close to my home. I'm from Belleville, Ontario, so that was like a big draw to going there. But the school, the campus, it's just a really, really special place. And I feel like what makes it even more special are the people there, and not just the people that go there, but the people that live in Ithaca. Like they're still the same fans from when I went there. They were all still at the games. They had a tailgate outside before the Saturday game. So it just is like, you get a real family feel. And I'm sure a lot of schools do get that as well. But I think that was kind of unique to my experience in Ithaca. And what brings me back all the time is because the same people are still there, and they keep going and supporting the women's hockey team. So it's
I know we all have that little like village type of like, you know, they're sitting in the same seats probably as they were when you were playing, and you know exactly when. Yeah,
exactly.
I think I don't know if it's an American college or Knoxy, if you had that too at Laurier in Canada, if you have the super fans, the one that come back over and over and after years, and you know, they never leave basically, but we absolutely love having them and chatting with them and stuff. Like I remember going back to SLU, and it was the same thing. Like, you know, exactly that this like little lady and her husband will be sitting over there, and then, you know, you're looking forward to catch up with them almost. Like,
yeah, I know. Like they haven't changed a day, and like we've grown through our lives, and they're just like doing the same thing every Friday, Saturday night. It's
I was just going to say that I feel like you grow up before their very eyes, and somehow they just stay like timeless. Like they're wearing the same jacket and like in the same seat. They're like, you know, fans for life. We love to see that.
I love it.
Did you always know you wanted to go to Cornell?
No, it's actually funny. So I think I knew I wanted to stay kind of on the east and be kind of close to home. I was my parents like always were at every single game that I played, so I think it was kind of important for me to be somewhere where they could come. Or maybe they were telling me that, and that's what I thought now looking back. But that was kind of important to me. And then once I started to kind of go through the process of looking for schools, like I knew that education was super important to me. My parents are both teachers, so again, they probably like helped ingrain that in me. And I kind of decided at a point in my high school career, like Ivy League was the way I wanted to go. And so then I kind of narrowed it down to some Ivy Leagues, but I was actually really, really, really set on Dartmouth. I loved Dartmouth. I loved the campus. I loved everything about it. And I remember my dad was like, we're just going to go visit Cornell. And if you don't like it, you can call Dartmouth like when you're standing on campus and tell them that you're going there. And so I was like, okay, I'll go. And as soon as I went on campus, like I knew it was like my place, and it completely changed my mind. So I was pretty set. I almost committed to Dartmouth, and then I was like, I'll just do one visit and see how it goes. And then as soon as I was there, I knew it was like where I wanted to be.
That. So. That's funny too. Big green for big red. I mean,
yeah,
I know. A little swap.
Up in green. We'll give a shout out to Dartmouth people that we had here. But no, that's like a huge and an important point you're making, Anna. And I think for the listeners, we have like all age and all kinds people that are making decisions from, maybe going to college and stuff, like waiting to actually see the campus and get that feeling of like you're standing there, you're talking with the team actually, or players that you may play with. I think is super important and sometimes overrated, right? People are committing early now and are doing like a little Zoom visit, or used to with COVID and everything that happened. I think, the process has changed a lot, but getting the vibe and feeling what the team's going to look like or be like, the coaching staff, the atmosphere, you're going to be there for 4 years. So might as well take the time to get on campus, right?
Yeah. And I always tell my girls now that I'm coaching too, like, what if something happens? Like, you don't want to think of the worst, but choose somewhere where you would be happy if all of a sudden hockey was gone. Like, you could have an injury, something could happen, and you want to be in a spot that, you're getting an education that you're enjoying. You're in a place where you could see if hockey wasn't there, like hockey is obviously a big part of our world, but it's not the only thing, especially in a 4-year experience. So, I always try and say, like, where would you be happy if all of a sudden hockey was gone tomorrow? And you're going to spend your 4 years there studying. So that was huge. And like, I would go back to Cornell in a heartbeat if hockey wasn't there, just to have that experience.
Yeah, that's like some sound advice right there, honestly. And I think that as female athletes, like, we're more inclined to think that way because, we don't really see as a longevity of a professional career after college. So it's like, like hockey is not forever. I think definitely on the guys' side, like, that's a harsher reality at times, but it's important that, we teach like these young girls, especially, to have a plan if hockey, doesn't pan out. Like you say, you knock on wood, you don't want to see it happen to anybody, but those stories do come in. So tell us a little bit about, after college then, did you go right to the Vancouver Rays? Is it right out of college?
Yeah. So I remember it was my senior spring. So hockey was over and it was kind of like, what now? Like, what am I going to do with my life? Where am I going to live? And I remember Rob Morgan was my head coach the first year, but he was at Yale previously. So he saw me a lot in college because we played against them in the ECAC. And I remember him kind of reaching out and was like, is there going to be a team in China? Like, I want to talk to you about it. And my initial reaction was like, no, I'm not going to China. Like, it's not happening. At the time, like, obviously I had friends in Calgary. I had friends playing in Toronto and Montreal. So it was like, those were kind of the areas I was looking to move to. And then I remember I had a conversation, and to be perfectly honest, there was money involved. And
that's fair.
Hell yeah.
I think. And once like that was kind of like, it just seemed like an opportunity that was too kind of good to pass up, especially knowing that we were playing in the CWHL. So like, I knew I would be back in Canada and North America quite often. And then I also had at the time one of my really good friends, Ashley Bricklick, who was a really great player. She went to Minnesota Duluth. She was also considering going over, and we had played on Team Canada U18 together. So it was kind of like a little reunion after college, and we both kind of talked and we're like, let's just do it. Like, there's nothing to lose here. Let's try it. So I went right after I graduated. I went home for the summer and then moved to China.
That's crazy. And just for everyone too, this was like in 2017, I believe that, so two China teams were added to the CWHL, the Vancouver Rays and Red Star, like Kunlun Red Star, right? There's two teams, if I remember. Yeah. It feels like it's been a long, long time.
Yeah, that feels like it was a decade ago.
God.
I know, it's crazy.
We remember, like, both Knoxy and I were actually on the board or the CW talking about this, and then player rep and trying to like figure out, okay, will they have visa? Will they be covered? Like, we were trying to like ask so many questions because we were about to send Canadian players or American players to like China. So the whole thought of that was like confusing, but yet like it brought so much, I guess, good in a sense. We played against, we went to China once each year, right? But then you guys came over every other week. So like you're saying, like you must have been actually in Canada way more than probably in Kunlun or in Shenzhen, sorry.
Yeah, we traveled so much. Like, I feel like that whole 2 years of my life, I felt like I was like suffering a concussion because I was in a different time zone every day. Like, it was so crazy. Like, you're always just tired. You're like, where am I? What am I doing? But it's 12-hour time change. So like, we'd come over and then we'd go back and it was crazy, but we'd stay for like months at a time when we'd come over and kind of go, like we'd hit Toronto, we'd hit Boston, we'd go to Montreal, and then we'd go home, and then we'd be back in China for about a month. So like it ended up working out, but it's crazy. My first year we flew first class everywhere.
What?
So
Man,
like,
I remember that.
We were in like we were flying in pods everywhere. Like my first year, it was like looking back, I wish I had like my YouTube channel back then and could go back and watch the stuff that we were doing. But like we were flying first class. Like it was like, I loved going to the airport. Like it was my favorite thing, going on a 14-hour
and like
flight.
you said, like your initial reason for going was getting paid. Like nobody here is going to fault you for that, and money talks, and the CWHL wouldn't have survived the last 2 years without China entering. So it was cool. Like it was cool to see you guys get that experience. Like obviously we were freaking jealous because I'm like,
and
I want to make money and play hockey. But at the same time, it was like, wow, this is like, maybe this is the direction that we're headed, like with the CWHL, obviously naively at the time, because fast forward 2 years and we're in a very different place. But you know what I mean? Like you're probably one of very few North American athletes for sure who's had that first class professional experience outside of being on a national team. So it's cool.
For sure. And don't get me wrong. Like, obviously I look back and I'm like, I was so lucky. Like it kind of it fell in my lap. Like I was graduated at the right time. Very, very lucky. And I'll always say I was so lucky to have that experience. But there was also like, it came with a lot of challenges. Like we were in China. The food was like, we really, really struggled with the food. Like you're so far away from everyone. Like you're living this kind of really secluded, weird life. But then it also came with a lot of perks. Like there was a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So it was just like a very interesting experience, like looking back
I think that like the perks and everything is like pretty much what a professional team should be like, right? You were traveling first class. You were like, equipment was like their own arena, like the setup there with the gym and everything, equipment manager, like everything was covered. Everything was like taken care of, right? Where, on the other side, and it's not to compare at all. Like we were buying our sticks, we were buying, like there's a few things. And the concept was, and to be completely clear, it wasn't like the CWHL that wasn't doing what they were doing for there. It was like the owners of the China teams had, the means and wanted to provide that for you guys as a professional and elite type of like setup. So,
yeah. And to be honest too, like I think now being where I am and experiencing the other side, I can like see that. But at the time I came from playing on Team Canada U18 and then going to Cornell University, where like university for women is the like epitome of what you want to get to. Like you're treated so professionally there. So I went from always being treated professionally to then being treated professionally again for 2 years to then experiencing
reality.
The drop.
to then everything else. So like looking back, I am so grateful, but at the time I was kind of just like, well, like shouldn't this is what it should be.
This is the added, like, okay, so what we went through versus you, the college to the drop to like C-Dub and then whatever, raising, we should never live this. What you went through from graduation to be treated as a pro is what needs to happen moving forward, right? So, like,
you always kind of see like the shock on like the girls who are coming fresh out of college. You see the shock on their face, like at their first CW game, or like where they're just like, oh my gosh, like I heard it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad, right? So yeah, like definitely working with the PA, obviously working to change that. I did want to like go back to China a little bit because I didn't really get to experience it. I only went to China for 1 year, but I hear that there's like a crazy nightlife, and I want to know your craziest, like maybe you can leave names out if you want, but like,
were you there?
What's the name of that club?
The house.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's
the house. There's like a trampoline in the middle of the dance floor.
This is my most remarkable play. We showed up and we looked like we were, or people thought we were superstars too on top of it. So
because they are obsessed with like Western life. Like it's crazy. My parents came to China once. We're going away from the house for a second, but we'll go back. But my parents came to China and they went to like this beach in China. And at the beach, there's like these little, not even a shower, but like hosing off area so you can get the sand off. And my dad's like getting the sand off and there's like 10 people filming him in his bathing suit, like washing the sand off. And my dad was like mortified. He's like, what is going on? And I'm like, everywhere you go, it's picture, like you feel like a movie star when you're walking around in China because people ask you for photos, blondes especially, like love blondes. But just like, you feel like famous. So you walk into that club and it's like, oh my God, like you're the star of the
like 8 of us. I think that one or 10. I don't remember how many, but yeah. And as soon as we walked in, we didn't even get to buy a drink. Like everyone was like, hey, like have some pre-COVID, pre-everything. We're like, yeah, sure, we'll have it. And we'll eat your little tropical fruit thingy that like, I didn't understand. Bizarre. Like trays, like fountain of like dragon fruit.
Yeah, like really bizarre experience.
With NSD,
people are just smoking cigarettes everywhere.
Yeah, we were back to Quebec or Montreal, like when I was 18 years old, basically smoking cigarettes. Everyone around you go to a bar, you smell like smokes. Like it's
in the elevators.
Yeah,
I remember the first time I was there in the elevator. This guy just lights up a dart, and I'm like, okay, like this is odd.
Yeah. One thing I will say, like, it's such a different experience, but it really gave me so much like appreciation for the culture and the people there, because although things are done very differently, like they are in every country that we travel to and everything's done differently, like the people are so kind. I had an experience. I was out and we had like a little apartments, and in the middle was like a play area for kids. And one time I was out with 2 of my friends, Emma and Ashley, and we were just kind of playing with this little kid in the park. And his parents invited us into their apartment. And like probably looking back, like maybe there's 3 of us. So we were like, we're going to be fine. Like we'll be fine no matter what. But anyway, so we went over just across the street into like an apartment and they did this like tea ceremony. And the little kids drew on this huge poster. And I think it said something like, our home is your home in Chinese. And it was just like an experience that I didn't think would like happen, or I was just like, we would never, I feel like here, see someone at the park and be like, come over and we're going to do this whole like little thing for you. So just like little situations like that, you start to like appreciate their culture more, and realize like how kind they are. And, you know, like sometimes at airports, it's super busy and people are pushy and shovey. And like to us, that's so rude and it's horrible and the worst thing ever. But to them, there's billions of people in the country. And like, if they don't do that in situations, you're never getting from point A to point B. And it's just kind of what happens. So you start to like realize these things that maybe we see as rude is just like part of who they are. And they're actually like, it was such a cool experience. I met so many really, really like amazing people who were so kind and just like so welcoming into their culture. So sometimes I think we can take a page out of their book.
100%. And I actually had a really cool, I don't know if I talked about this on a previous episode or not, but we went looking for this Buddhist temple when we were there and got wildly lost. I don't know what the hell we were thinking, but we got lost. And then like basically like the cabs kind of like stopped coming to this area at like 5:30. So it's like 6:37. The sun's starting to go down. We're like, oh shit, like how are we going to get home? All we have is an address like for our hotel. So we like start walking around, like asking people. They're just like, no, like there's just no cabs out here now. So we end up going to this cafe. The girl who was working there gave us each a Guinness, which I was like, I'm just going to stay here. And she's like, no, like and we're talking through like our phones, like using Google Translate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she ended up calling, I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her brother or like, I don't know who this guy was, but he came and like no words, was just like, she was like, get in the car. We're like, okay, same thing. I'm like, looking back, like maybe a little bit sketchy, but this guy drove us right to our hotel, wouldn't take any money. Like we tried to give him cash. We're like, thank you so much. He's like, no, like, you know, it was just like such a cool, like we're in a pretty tight situation, could end up honestly like very dangerous. And this guy just took time out of his day. And yeah, it was really cool. I love that, you know, you get to share that kind of part of the culture with these people who just want to take care of you, make sure you have a great time.
Yeah, no, it was, so many different experiences, but so many great experiences. And you like learn so much when you're immersed in a different culture. So it's pretty
really
special.
cool. And speaking of culture, Hanna Bunton is like our like in-house fashion TikTok star, Instagram model, you're like the
magazine front page girl,
cover of magazine,
my claim to fame.
You know, you're the stuff that like pop stars write songs about here. So
keep going.
So first, before we get back to you, I want to ask your professional opinion, and we're going to put this picture up, I think, on our YouTube channel. Kax's outfit yesterday on RDS was like chef's kiss, but I clearly I know so much about fashion because I'm wearing a LA Dodgers hat and a black t-shirt. I want to get your take, your critique on this blazer turtleneck combo.
Both love. Blazers are like my staple of fashion. So anytime there's a blazer, it's like immediate yes, love blazers. And turtlenecks, it's fall. Like, great. It was great. Knoxy sent me a photo last night, and I was like, fantastic. Like, you looked
Thank
great.
you guys. I mean, I can't take any credit. I went to the store that helps me to do this, and the lady over there helped me out. And the clothes there are amazing. Every time I go, I'm like, I don't even need to think. So the blazer was sick. And I at first, like, I looked at it and I was like, is it too much? Like, I'm going to be on TV, there's a red background behind me, but it was gold with little things. And then she gave me leather pants too. So I was like, okay, let's go. I'm doing it. It's happening. So thank you, Hanna, for approving.
Hanna Bunton approved. Stamp it.
Check. Let's go.
It's so fun though when someone like picks out your outfit and you're just like, when like people have the vision for it and stuff and they see something and you're like, I don't know. And then you put it on.
Does that happen to you a lot?
Totally.
Yeah.
That me?
Or do you
have like someone steal my outfit?
Do you pick the outfits?
No, I've only no. But I feel like I always see whenever I am planning outfits, I'm like very like I try and see it in my head of what it's going to look like, or I see one piece and I'm like, what could I put with that? Like it's very, it's like an art, I feel like.
Very much so.
Okay.
And I'm not an artist.
What do you do, Knoxy? You pick your hat first and then you go?
Well, first I decide, am I going to do a low bun or a low pony? And then I figure out where do the wisps come out of the hat? And then pretty much I'm set. I'm good to go.
I love it.
But let's talk a little bit about, like, we're talking fashion, food. You mentioned that you have a YouTube channel yourself. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you talk about? What are we interested in? What content do you deliver? Give us some insight and maybe even drop, your handle or website or whatever we can promo here.
Absolutely.
I mean, so it's funny with YouTube, don't get me wrong, like not a ton of people watch my YouTube videos and I'm very okay with that. It was definitely a point, like I always wanted to start a YouTube channel. I think it's really cool to see, like, I like watching what people do in like a week or on a trip or in their daily life, like just kind of vlog. I'm always someone who takes photos. Like, My girlfriend Mello will probably get so annoyed. Like every time we're out, I'm snapping photos. She's like, you're always taking photos, but it's just something I really, really enjoy. Like I find it very artistic. So I love doing that kind of stuff. And I love taking videos and kind of capturing things. But I had this really, really bad fear of posting on YouTube for the first time. I was like, no one's going to watch it. People are going to make fun of me. Like it'll have 100 views and it's probably my mom 100 times. Like I was just so scared. And I'm not kidding you. I filmed and edited probably 5 YouTube videos in like a 3-year span where I'm like, just post it. And I didn't. I wouldn't post it. And I promised myself when the first ever video I posted was like a vlog of the Elle cover shoot. And so I was like, I'm going to film this and I'm posting it. Like, no matter what, this is such a cool experience. Like, I'm going to do it. And so anyway, now, like, I post videos. Not a lot of people watch them. And if they do, that's great. And if you want to, that's fine. But like, for me, I love it. And I love even going back and being like, just rewatching it. It's like little home videos that you have. And if people want to watch, great. If not, I have them. I can go back and watch them. And so I just love, like, I think I have like artistic genes in my family, but my sister's like very artistic when it comes to like painting and drawing and sculpting and things like that. And that's like a gene I definitely didn't get. But I feel like my artistic comes in like photos and videos, and like, it's just something I really enjoy doing. So like any sort of vlog, just kind of what I do in a week or on a trip, I like to just film it and capture it.
Behind the scenes is like a very like trending thing because people just want to know like what your life is like. And especially as like, you know, an athlete or, you know, you're moving into the school setting now. It's like, how do you balance both these things? And yeah, I think it's really cool to give people that insight. And I wanted to know, especially like TikTok, because this is something that like I struggle with. Not that I really try, but because I watch TikTok through my dog's account. But how do you like? Well, he's trying to be famous. He has like 5 followers. But how do you choose like what trends you're gonna like jump on, or like? How do you know if something's like still in? I feel like these trends come and go like so fast. It's like, how do you know what people are going to like or not like, or do you care?
I honestly don't care. I'm like a one and done kind of TikTok person. Like I don't like to be like so consumed by what I post or in my phone. And I can see Mello watching this back and being like, it takes you hours to post something on Instagram, which like maybe is true because I like an artistic side to my Instagram. But with TikTok, it's a one and done thing. Like if I see something I like, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And I'll try it once and then post it. So maybe I could put a little bit more effort into, but I just don't care to take the time to really try and get something perfectly. So for me, it's like, what can I do right now at that moment and quick? Because I just want it to be like done. So TikTok's definitely not my forte, but when I post with
I was just going to ask you about this
TikTok
one.
loves that. So
I was like, how? Yesterday we were watching it, and then I was like, how did she get Pooh to do it? Like, and then again, I was going to say Beck after. I'm like, oh, she for sure made her do it. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Becca was bugging her. Come on. We did it once. That was our first take. So I think if it was any more than one take, Pooh would have been out there. Do you want to explain the trend a little or tell people to go see it? Maybe you'll get more views on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, Becca Leslie posted it, but it was a trend where Becca was saying girls who score in gold medal games and girls who don't. So Pooh did a little dance if you want to go see her dance on TikTok. Yeah, she did a little shimmy. So she's
it's really good. That was a good one.
She gets she rolls her eyes. Hey, she's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, like she needs more fame and more people to follow her. But you know what? It works. It works for her.
She's cute. She does it. Yeah. She tries to stick with the younger generations a little bit.
Yeah,
stick with you. Is there any? Do you have a favorite post that you've made, or maybe favorite content or something like direction that you like to go with? Do you have a most famous post?
Not necessarily. I love anything with Mateo, Melo's son. Like, he's so cute. And like, anytime I'm with him, I just like love posting with him or like taking photos or in my little YouTube when he's in there. So anything with him is like super fun for me.
That's cute. Yeah, the stories are, we can follow you on Instagram for sure in your day to day with Mateo. I love it too. It's cute.
Yeah, he's so cute. He's like my little best friend. So
him and Raider are my favorite, by the way. Together, they just do the difference, the giant dog and the little boy. Like, I just love it. Every time I'm scared, he's
oh my God, they're so cute. And I know, they're so cute. He just like will randomly every morning just goes and gives them a hug right away. Like, they're adorable together.
Yeah, Raider, awesome. As Kax just said, is what kind of dog is he other than huge?
He's a horse. He's not a dog. No. He is like a mix of a few different types of mastiffs, but so I can get all nerdy with my dog breeds, but like Italian Mastiff, there's two different types. There's like a Cane Corso and a Neapolitan Mastiff, and he's pretty much like a mix of the two of them. So I say Italian Mastiff because it's easier, but he's a mix of those kind of two breeds. But when I first got him, they said he was just Cane Corso, which is like a type of Italian Mastiff. But they only get like their average at like 110 when they get fully grown, and he's 150.
Only 110. So, it's like, oh, he'll be a medium.
Is huge already. Like, I don't know what years. I have a 60 pounder, and that thing is like a chunk and a half. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be 110, whatever. Great. That's perfect. And then all of a sudden he just kept getting bigger and bigger, and he was so big. And I'm like, there's no way that he's this type of breed. Like, he's got something else in him. So I did one of those swab DNA tests because I was, well, no, for dogs. Yes.
Cute. You just give it to him.
Yeah, you actually swab it there. I was like, I don't know how they do it. It's actually Cornell Vet School made the one that I used.
Cool.
So you encourage your school. That's even better. Look at you. Oh.
Yeah. Embark dog test. They test your dog's breed. And he had like random breeds that I had no idea. He's like 6% St. Bernard, which is like a fun fact. I tell people that.
I mean, I can see it in the jowl maybe. Yeah, the jowl.
Yeah,
I can see it. And the shake just goes
He's
everywhere.
Obviously, like, you were saying he hangs out with Mateo, they're best buddies. So he's obviously like gentle giant, though. Is he like a huge suck?
Oh my God. He's scared of everything. Like, he doesn't realize that he has nothing to be scared of, but like, he's so chill and just like very gentle. Like, the only thing is like when he gets excited, he's 150 pounds. So like, if he wants to play, you've got to just be like braced for like impact if he just by accident knocks into you. Like, he's knocked me over 2 different times where he just like was running and he's so like floppy and like not coordinated and just like hit my legs.
You went flying?
Like, so you got to be on the alert. Yeah. Oh, flying. No. I have it on video. I was filming him running to me. Run. Hit my legs. The phone goes flying.
That's like high center of gravity too. Like, he's like a couch with legs. So it's like not like little Winnie who's going to like knock your ankles. Like, he's coming for you hip high.
No, he's coming for he's coming for the
hip
stomach.
check. It's like, complete.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, we will shift gears a little bit. We're going to get back. You just finished your work. Enough about dogs. It's so hard, though. I could literally talk our whole episode about dogs.
Oh, me too. I could go on and on about
dogs over here. Oh my God.
So, as we were discussing earlier, you wrapped up your kind of work with Hockey Canada in this past June, and you worked with the U18 women's team. Just talk us through a little bit about what your role was like, and maybe some of the accomplishments you found along the way, working for Hockey Canada as on the other side of it, not as a player anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I worked there for a year. It was like June to June, and I managed the U18 team. So when the opportunity kind of presented itself to have that role, it was like an easy yes for me. And I think just because I knew like what I experienced when I was going through U18s, and the people had such a big impact on it, but like they're at such an impressionable age, and they also have so many stresses and anxieties about like going to Hockey Canada things, and there's such a big pressure about it. And so I just like felt like I could really like obviously do the role well. Like you're doing all the organizing, like you're organizing,
Traveling
things from meals to hotels to buses to airports to roommates to like it's you're really doing the nitty gritty. But I also found like I could be a really nice sounding board whenever they had questions. They could come and feel really comfortable because like I was there not super long ago. So I really was excited to be able to like have an impact on them, and also do my job, obviously. But I definitely missed in that role. It's a lot of behind the scenes work, like a lot of organizing. And I definitely missed the like on ice aspect of working in hockey. So it was different for me. I was doing all the administrative work, which I loved. And I loved when I was at the camps and at, championships and stuff like that, because you're around the team more. But outside of it, you're doing a lot more of the business side of the job. But it was a really, really cool experience. And it's taught me a lot, like even now going into my coaching role, like being able to do so much administrative work behind the scenes. So yeah, it was a really cool experience. And we won at the U18 Worlds in Madison. So that was my last event with them. And I knew going into it was my last event. So it was pretty special to kind of go out being with them all year and then obviously winning a world championship.
And I love like you talked about it a little bit, the behind the scenes stuff, but also like, do you find now you have like an appreciation for a little bit more of like, not that we didn't before with coaches or staff, but once you put yourself in those shoes and you actually do it, like you see it so differently. And like the little details that you think about, or the teamwork that happens behind the scene with coaches or with other staff, media, everything. Like I give them so much credit now, like just having that experience.
I know, like you just, you come into your room and there's like all this stuff just like placed there, and you're just like, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is amazing. But it's like, well, how did it get there from like wherever it was shipped from to sorted to this to that? And like, you just don't think of those things. And I said the whole time, like to Gina, whenever I was working there, I was like, I think I said thank you a lot, but I could have said it a heck of a lot more. So you definitely get an appreciation, for like everything, like how much organization and teamwork and all the work that, staff do. So it's definitely shown me that.
And like maybe a little bit of an elephant in the room question here. And we don't like to keep things too serious on our show because, we're here just to have a good time. But with the Hockey Canada board kind of wholesale changing, we'll call it, what are some things that you would want to see represented in the next board? Because these are volunteers, like, there are perks, of course, we understand that, but people who are going to impact the game, like what sort of voices or faces do you want to see on that Hockey Canada board, having seen the other side?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's tough because we were so shielded from everything that happened. Like, I've done a couple of interviews, obviously working for Hockey Canada. And then, when all of that came out, like, we had no idea. We found out the day of when it went out in media. So there was no, like, real indication of anything. And one thing I always say is, like, the definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over and over again and you expect to see change. So for me, it's a no-brainer that like change from the top has to happen. Like these things happened over and over again. And if we have the same people, like it's just, you can't expect to see change. So obviously love to see females, people of color, just like you want to see a board that represents the country that we live in, right? So we live in a very, very diverse country. You want to see a board that represents that. And for hockey to be more appealing to every single person in the world, you need to have like people, leaders that are in charge that they look like or they can relate to. And hockey, we know, has been a very, there's a mold with hockey players, and that's why it attracts the same people to those jobs at the top. And we just can't expect to see change, and we can't expect to grow the game to the extent that we want to if we don't have diverse people in charge and people can look up to and say, like, that could be me someday. So we need to see people of color. We need to see women on the board, and we need something different, or we're not going to see anything change in the game of hockey. And we know that right now, like, things need to change, and it's been years and years. And the last few years, like, we need that. It needs to happen.
Well said.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more at all. It's been, the old men's club for too long, probably. And you're right. We just need the changes, and not to get into it at all. But yeah, if it changes from the top, then you can see it, maybe a culture change, but you won't see it till that happens. That's definite.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally.
Love that. Big change is coming. Maybe Hanna Bunton will put her name in the hat. Like, let's get Bunts on the board.
I don't know about that.
seems like a
We'll
big task.
see.
And you do have your hands full, because we're going to talk now about Collège
do.
Bourget.
Yeah, actually. And then to that extent, actually, and what we were just talking about, and everything that, you and Mello are trying to do. Before we get into that, I'd love to talk about a little bit of like where this idea came from and why, Hanna, if that's okay. And then I would love to know more about the situation here in Quebec and where it's at, basically. So,
yeah. I think, honestly, I think it stemmed from working with Hockey Canada and working with that age of athletes. Like, I always knew, I love that age of athletes. Like, they're trying to get to the next level. They have so many goals, passions. They want to work hard. Like, they're such a great age. And then, like I said, with the U18s, like, they're at such an impressionable age. And I remember, like, when I was in high school, like, those were like big times in my life. And to have people that can be super influential in those times of your life and help kind of guide you. But not only in hockey, but like just as a person, in school, like, I think you can learn so much in that time of your life when the right people are kind of helping and guiding you. And I just felt like definitely like a passion draw to be able to be influential for that kind of stage of people's life when there's a lot of struggles that happen. And I think that, having like a female role model, would be so special for them. So that was definitely a huge part of it. Like, working with high school girls was like, honestly, if you asked me 5 years ago, starting a prep school, like, dream job, like working at a prep school, coaching hockey, but then getting to be a part of like high school girls' life, and kind of guide them to the next step of their life. Definitely a dream job. So it was kind of, I was living in Calgary, looking to move to this area, and was like, I have a really great job with Hockey Canada. I love what I do. I won't move unless something amazing kind of comes up for a career opportunity. And it just kind of happened. They were looking, so at Bourget, they had 5 or 6 boys teams. They were looking they've always wanted to start a female program. And Mello knew the sport director who had reached out a couple years ago to her to help kind of get things started, but she wasn't at the time in her career where she wanted to. So then it was just kind of like, again, perfect timing. I don't know why I've been so lucky with different things that have happened, but
man,
I know. So it was just kind of like perfect timing that they were looking to start it. And it seemed just like a dream opportunity to open up a prep school.
Basically, your dream job 5 years ago. Now you're getting it. Obviously, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
And so valuable for those young athletes. And especially like, not to get too serious, but with COVID times, like, I have people very close to me in my family and my partner who are in the school system. And like, the COVID years have been really hard on a lot of people, but I feel like our students are struggling like with different anxieties and eating disorders and stuff like that. So really impactful to have role models like yourself and Mello, like you say, just to like be there for those girls at that pivotal time in their life, and that they can see, okay, like, this is what my life could look like in a few years, or this is what my life could look like in hockey or outside of hockey, right? So a really cool example that you're setting for them. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about people on social media probably saw in the Montreal Showcase a lot of the players stepping off the bus in the Collège Bourget jerseys, which are gorgeous jerseys, by the way. Like, if we could,
they're nice, hey?
I would buy that jersey. It's sick.
I know, they're nice.
So what was the message behind that, and what are you guys facing right now in kind of your deliberation with Hockey Quebec?
Yeah, so honestly, like I said, we were so excited in March, April when the program was being announced and having those conversations at the beginning of this year. It was just like, we never thought that it would kind of come to what it's come to. But we're having a lot of troubles with Hockey Quebec right now. So we kind of saw like a gap in development in female hockey in Quebec. And that was a big reason why we wanted to start this program. Is we wanted girls to be able to be at a school, playing at the school, gym class, playing at a school, you know, working with coaches who are passionate about being there. They have access to gyms. Our rink is on campus. They can live on dorms if they want to come from other places. And we noticed like a lot of the girls that we were speaking to at the beginning of the year when they were deciding if, you know, it was an option for them to come, like they were at the point where they were going to quit hockey. They were really struggling with school, ADHD. We see a lot of like anxiety, depression, like the girls were getting home late at night. They're driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to practices. It seemed like this perfect opportunity to start this program. And we also knew it wasn't for everyone.
Yeah. And to that extent, Anna, I just want to add a little bit on that. So in Quebec right now, like they're mixing or they're combining cities together, Knoxy, to make teams, right? Like it should, so you have enough players. But the cities are like you said, an hour away, if not 2, if not 45 minutes every time. And because you combine cities, the minor hockey in those areas are not prioritizing those teams because they're not from that town or whatever. So the girls are getting like last kind of like choice in ice time. So it's an 8, it's a 9 p.m., it's a 10 o'clock. It's something that I went through when I was that age. Like half ice with a boys team on the other side, or like having to drive an hour. Oh yeah. Having to drive an hour to do, or no practices for 2 months because there's no ice time.
So there's an extreme shortage, or like,
it's just a matter of like, okay, so since you're combining, let's say these 3 cities, well, you're not from the one city. So all the teams that are from this one city gets priority over you. So they don't you get like shoved down the list basically to get the ice. And on top of it, if you're a girls team, sadly, you're not prioritized at the top of elite boys time ice or however that is. And I just want to mention it, and that's something that like, I can't believe it's still happening right now in 2022 when it was happening. And I don't want to say that age or whatever, but like in 2005, if not 6. Okay. So like, so I'm like, what you guys are doing, I would have jumped right on board if I could have. I would have like been one of those players to like, I want to go to school. I want to be able to go to bed at a decent time and get to do my homework. Cause how the heck are you supposed to do your homework after a 10 o'clock or 9 p.m., you know, ice session? Yeah,
like it's crazy. And even for me too, like in Ontario, obviously the minor hockey system is strong there in the league that you play in high school. But when I was in high school, I played in Whitby, but I'm from Belleville. So I was driving an hour and a half. And so when we had these conversations about this, I was like, this is a dream. Like I would have loved to have this in high school, like go to school. We're done latest at 6 p.m. So then latest. Sorry, so go ahead. Continue. I was just going to ask. So then is the like proposition here, like that instead of having a club team, they would stay, like the college would be their traveling club team. Is that kind of the idea? Yeah, so we would like love to play. Our ideal situation is like more tournament style showcase weekends. So play against other prep schools, go to big tournaments where, you know, there's scouts and things like that. And then they practice every single day. So they don't play on an outside club team. It's like they decide to come to the prep school and they get all their games. So more similar to like how it is in the States, States and like out west, you see it a lot now, like in BC. So like at Okanagan Hockey, OHA, POE, which is now Rink, Edge, like all those schools, they go to school there, they play there, and that's where they play their full season. And I think for provinces where it's, you know, the population is a little bit more spread out, or the club hockey is, you know, like in Ontario, like within the GTA, you have 15
the
teams.
amount of players is like
within
triple.
a radius that you can
the
play
amount
to.
of players or girls players in Ontario is like crazy higher than Quebec. Like we don't have those players. So
and we say, like, they've told us, like, women's hockey in Quebec is fragile. So you starting a prep school, if you take 5 players from this team and this team and this team, like, these teams are going to close. Our theory is the more teams that open, the more girls that are playing hockey. So we feed into those girls that got released from teams. Now they get to play at a high level in the civil league. And then people come, like, it's 20 more girls playing at a high level. That should be something that we're happy about and we're excited about, and not trying to shut it down. And if we're not seeing that growth and, like, people can't feed into those teams, then we have a problem at the grassroots level, which starts a lot before high school hockey. So, like, I think right now, and me and Mello talk about this all the time, but if we have a daughter and we're considering, like, what kind of sports do we want to put her into right now, like hockey in Quebec, like, it's not that, enticing to put your daughter into female hockey, because the closest that we are to a club is, like, our practices are about an hour and 15 minutes away from where we live. So, like, that's not too enticing. But if there's these schools that open up, or, you know, more teams, more hockey, like, that's helping grow women's hockey. And that's ideally, like, all we're trying to do. Our intentions were not to shut down a civil league or shut down teams. Like, our intentions were just to grow the game of women's hockey and create a very professional environment. They have their own locker room. They're training with great facilities. They have 2 coaches that are really passionate about being there. And just Hockey Quebec is really, really.
So what is the level of competition that you face right now? Like, your girls are playing other prep schools, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
So right now, like, Hockey Quebec they won't sanction us. So it makes it really, really challenging. So we can play against unsanctioned teams, which is very hard to find, because almost everywhere in North America, teams are sanctioned. But we're lucky because we're going to play in a prep hockey league, that will give us about 20 games. And because it's all prep schools, everyone has their own insurance. So they're a non-sanctioned league. So that league will still happen. So like we said, our problem is not that they're going to completely stop us from playing. We'll play no matter what. But we can't go to those big tournaments because they're all sanctioned tournaments. Like, they can't play against top teams that we want to expose them to, because they're all sanctioned teams. So it just makes it a lot harder. And we just find that, like, their reasoning and their answers just to us don't make sense and aren't, like, valid. And there's no laws or regulations or rules that are in writing that, like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a tricky situation probably, right? Sorry, go ahead, Kax.
I was just going to say, you know, in terms of if the setup was better, and if the civil, like, games or even practices or coaches or whoever is there, if it was better, I would understand, you know, why. But if you can't see that there's a problem within that structure currently right now, and that you're not developing the girls, or our job is to keep girls in hockey, right? As pro, and as, like, if you can see it, you can dream it. If you can have different, like, opportunity in front of you, then you see yourself, you know, in different places or in different time of your life that you can keep playing and it makes sense to you. So having this prep school to me is like a visibility, and it's something that, you know, you get New Jerseys. There's like, there's an attachment that you get from, like, belonging to a team, or, like, belonging to a group of girls that are trying to do the same thing as you, or are trying to be, you know, not only was I playing with, like, that back then, I believe the age gap is different too, or whatever, but I was like 13, 14 playing with, like, some 20 years old and older, like, in that weird league that we were. It's no longer the same, obviously, but you don't have, like, the similarities within, versus, like, teams like you're creating, or the prep, like, Hockey Quebec just needs to understand that it's not for everyone. People will choose, and they should have the choice. And I do think that, think that on the other side, on the men's side, I believe they have those options. So on the boys' side,
that's our whole thing. Like, let the girls just choose. Like, it seems like we're trying to like control exactly where they're playing. If there's 2 options, like, we're never going to force someone to come here. If it's not for you and you don't want to be here, that's totally fine. Do what is best for you. Like, we should have options. Like, the boys have options. They can play in their civil league, they can play in the RSEQ, and they can play in prep schools. And I think it's important to note too, we have, I think, 5, 6, maybe even 7 boys teams here. They're all sanctioned, and they play in different
ways. You know what?
It's
I think like so many parallels, like just the words coming out of your guys' mouth right now is so similar to the fight that we're having in professionalizing women's hockey. And the fragility of women's sport is a narrative that may have had some backing, 30 years ago, but this is part of the growing pain and the growth process, I think. And seeing, Hockey Quebec, obviously, you guys have been very forward with your ideas. And, I'm hopeful that voice will continue to get louder and louder. And this is how change happens, but it's a slow moving vehicle, right? Because there is this still like old school thought that, women's hockey is going to fail. Like, you can't invest all this money in women's hockey. Like, you're just throwing it away, right? Like, this is exactly where we're at. So, lots of parallels in kind of the narrative that you guys are facing in at the prep school level that we are also facing with the PWHPA. But, wish you guys continued success. Wish you good luck. Obviously, you have the support of our players, and more games is better. That's what we're striving for here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
So keep going.
Switching gears to you got to get to class, Buns. Gosh.
No, it's good.
So we do want to finish off with talking about the PWHPA. What are you most excited for the upcoming season? And then Kax has got one final question for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fun. I think the first weekend in Montreal, like, everyone was a little bit, how's it going to be? We're all on different teams. We haven't been with our teams. Like, you practice with a group of players, and then you're all spread out, and like, what's that competition going to be like? And how's the hockey going to be? But it was great. Like, the hockey was amazing. The level of play was so good. And like, even after the first game, we thought it, would be maybe a little choppy, or everyone's getting used and feeling each other out. And like, the skill and everything was, it was so fun. It was really, really great. And then I think it's special because you're going to be with the same kind of roster for the whole season. So you'll get that, you'll get that team feel as the season goes on. And I think it was also really cool that, each team picked up a win in Montreal. Like, I think obviously, we want to see some like even competition, and that's what we saw. So it was a lot of fun.
No, the level of talent, I'm so happy it worked out too, right? Because like the concept came in this year, talking with the board and everything, and being like, okay, we're going to do this PLL style. And then people are like, what's PLL right now? And it's like this lacrosse league that did what we're doing currently. And I'm glad you're feeling that it's like, you're still going to get that team vibe, and you're still going to get, a season like, that was the concept too. Like, hey, how can we have that season playoff situation and, a championship in the end? So I'm glad you're.
Yeah. Cause I think, the last couple of years, like, it's hard to be really excited to play when you're not playing for much. Like, I think we all know that. Like, when we played in the CWHL, like, you're playing for that title. And so to make it, instead of, these little showcase weekends and not everyone's at them, where it's more of like a season structure, I think it'll, after the first weekend, everyone's getting used to it. And we haven't had that in a few years. Like, a lot of us, people that haven't played for the national team, like, we haven't really, been working for something. So to now have that, I think, it'll like increase the level of intensity for those games.
Awesome.
For sure.
Because that was one of the feedback we received, and we were trying to like make that happen or help make that happen this year as a feeling. So I'm glad you're feeling it already. After one showcase, she's in, guys.
Oh yeah,
sold on it. That's good. Okay, so my last question, as Knoxy put it out. So if you could choose your dream city, right, that a professional women's hockey league would be based in, where would it be and why? So your favorite, why, how, where?
Okay, I'm going to go with New York City.
Big.
And my reasoning is I love New York.
I wonder why.
I think it's so fun. I
Fashion,
love the
artsy,
vibe there.
lights. I didn't size you yet.
I just like, yeah, you probably could have guessed that, but I love New York City. I think it's so fun. It's such a fun city. I love like the architecture in New York City. I know it has nothing to do with hockey, but like, I just love the vibe of New York City. So I think it'd be so cool to have a.
I love
It
that.
doesn't have to be related to hockey. So yes, those are valid points.
Yeah. I just want to live in New York City.
You know what? You dreamed up your professional career, and you got that opportunity in China. You dreamed up your career with the college, and you got that. So who knows? This could be a premonition.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Hannah Bunton said it
We're
first.
saying it here
New York
first.
team. Who knows? Hannah Bunton.
Words right out of my mouth. And thank you so much, Bunts, for coming on. You can follow Bunton at Bunts_9 on all social media platforms. And you can also catch her in Truro, Nova Scotia, November 4th, 6th next week, which I cannot believe we're already there. Holy smokes.
Crazy.
Of course, those games are streamed on CBC Sports. And after that, Pittsburgh is November 26th, 27th with clinics on the 25th. So those rosters will be announced, I'm sure in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll see Bunts there as well. You can get all that information, tickets, all that good stuff at pwhpa.com.
Go
That's
buy
it for
your
us, Bunts.
tickets.
Thank you so much. Yeah, buy tickets.
Thank you, guys. Guys, we could have sat here for like
I know.
2 more
I know.
hours.
I can't believe it's over.
Yeah, I feel like we're not done.
I feel like the family tree of Raider has left something to be desired. I need to know more about his lineage.
Yeah, we'll have to do a part 2.
Well, you guys can catch us here, same channel, same time next week on Friday. Thanks again so much, Bunsen. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
The Knoxy and Kax Show on SDPN, produced in partnership with the PWHPA. Follow Knoxy and Kax on Twitter at 27Knoxy and at CareLMard. The views expressed are those of the individuals and are not necessarily those of the PWHPA. Check out sdpn.ca for more Knoxy and Kax and the rest of the SDPN crew.
She scores!